Hey people, today is January 18th, 2025. My name is Chris Lucas. This is currently my show, The Protestant View, live. Um, I might be changing the name in the future. I still am mulling that over. But anyway, is my first live I have done in 2025. I've been very busy. My kids have also been sick, and I've been working like 70 hours a week. So, and I was a little bit sick myself. So I just felt a bit overwhelmed. So I haven't done many shows. And then it was just like, the last couple of shows I did, it's just, there's a large segment of the community, I guess, which just, fights me about various things and then accuses me of being the person that wants to divide everybody. And then I watched like some bigger YouTube channels gather against me and slander me for no reason. After I was pretty nice to them, I just said something they disagreed with, even though it was, facts. And I could play the clip and go, this is what came out of Trump's mouth, or right here in the Bible, it says this exact thing, and you're telling everyone it's saying the exact opposite thing, right? And right here is the sentence in the Bible, and you get banned, for pointing this out, right? Not that, and I had no animosity towards these people, none, zero. Like I had actually donated to some of their channels and been friendly to them. I did not think they were people like this. Because they present themselves as being people that well, I'm willing to debate anyone. Oh, great. You're open-minded. You allow other voices. You're not in an echo chamber. That's how they present themselves. And then you start to find out that no. These people actually are echo chambers, but they want to present themselves like they're not an echo chamber, but they're secretly are, and and then when you find out these same people attack you and say all the slanderous things, it's just like and then I see that other people that watch their channel watch my channel, and if I see some of these people siding with them, and I'm like, you guys are not even bothering to think this through, and it's getting real frustrating. Um, and then it's just like I just had more depression because there's things I pointed out to people very close to me during 2020, thinking that, oh, you guys are actually listening to things that I'm saying, and to find out that, I talked to them, a couple of years later, and it's like, how did you know all this? Like, how did you know Trump was going to lock us down? I was like, I was sitting there telling you before it happened. Like, I like, there's, on Facebook, there's like this group I was starting that was going to be like an anti-lockdown group before the lockdown even happened, right? And I mean, you could see it right there, February, like around February, I think it's like February 28th or something like that, before they even did the lockdown. Right there's a Facebook group, right? And I'm starting it. And it's to protest the lockdown before the lockdown happens. And it's like, so I did know there's proof of it out there. I can't help it and it gets real frustrating when you get erased off of YouTube so many times. You get erased off of Twitter, you get erased off of all these, and some people go, oh, well, why don't you show me proof? It's like, my proof is erased, and like, so my emotions had lately just gotten like, so where I was just feeling so frustrated and so gaslit by everybody. And then on top of it, I see these same people that are gaslighting me, and they're supporting these channels where these guys are almost full-time YouTubers, or have a lot, are getting money, getting support, and these people have time to actually have shows, because some of these people don't have kids, or they got enough money coming into where they can do a full-time YouTube show, and they'll gaslight someone like me who works 70 hours a week, and I'm figuring this stuff out, and yet I'm getting erased off of everything. These people are not getting erased off of anything because they're generally going along with the mainstream thought. So they're not doing anything too controversial. And then, so when I say, oh, I called this out before it happened, and then people are like, where's your proof? Well, I've been deleted off of YouTube 10 times alone. I got deleted off of Twitter, and I had a lot more proof. It's like if you're constantly getting banned off of all these places, it's like, yeah, it's hard for me to show a paper trail of everything because I'm getting banned from everything. And I'm not getting support. So when you guys want me to re-upload things, when do I have time? I got, 2 kids. I'm working 70 hours a week. I'm trying to finish writing a book, right? This book I'm writing, it's on Daniel. And and the reason why I'm focusing so much on writing this book is because I think when I finish writing this book on Daniel 9, you're going to see a ton of deception going on. And you're going to be like, wow, no wonder my church is going along with everything the government's doing, everything the world's doing. That you're going to see how demonic and how these people are just like, so many people are just conning you. Because once I show this book, you're going to be like, wow, these people have zero excuse for teaching the trash they do. They'll teach you things like inductive Bible study. Like, oh, this is how you do a proper Bible study so you can come to the truth, so you can properly exegete the text. And as I'm writing this book on Daniel 9, I'm realizing that these people who are teaching you supposedly how to do an inductive Bible study and all this stuff, they're not doing it themselves. Because if you would have done it, there's no way you could come to a conclusion that this is about a future Antichrist and all this other stuff. And then you got your 7-year tribulation, you got your future Antichrist. So you're not looking at the current evil rulers now because you're thinking, no, Antichrist is future. So, and you're also thinking, well, if I haven't seen anyone sign a 7-year treaty yet, so this person can't possibly be the Antichrist. This person might do everything an Antichrist would do, but because they're not signing a 7-year peace treaty with Israel, they got so many people convinced that certain people can't be the Antichrist, or can't be working with the Antichrist, or can't be evil, because, oh my gosh, it's not fitting my messed up eschatological view that my pastor taught me or that my prophecy teacher taught me. So, I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm writing this book too, is because, you had a bunch of churches shut down in 2020 and they just went along with the program. And you see all these people cheering Trump, all these churches, prophesying Trump, even though they get the prophecy wrong. They say Trump's going to win and he's going to have a victory, and he doesn't get the victory. And then they go, well, I did have a prophecy. And then they see him win this year and say, oh, see, I was right. He wound up winning. And it's like, no. Because I even said that he was going to lose that election, and it was going to look like a tampered election. I'm trying to, part of this show is on YouTube. Some of it's on Rumble. And by the way, people on YouTube, if you want to see a lot of my videos where I talk about more controversial stuff, you got to go to Rumble, because I'm not even going to bother with YouTube anymore. YouTube's just going to be where I basically talk about my more about the religion part of everything going on, the religious deceptions, and maybe doing like educational videos about like it's not that I don't write a lot of stuff. Like I got like about 15 pages right here, because there's people teaching things like, well, hold on, let me get to this point real quick before I jump to that. Because people nag on me all the time, like, Chris, all you talk about is Daniel 9. All you talk about is one thing. The problem is I don't have any time. So whatever I might be working on at the time, that's what, if I start up a random stream, that's what I'm going to talk about. So, some of the issues is, it's like, it's not that I'm not able to talk about various subjects, because right here I have 15 pages I wrote just on this subject called the crossless gospel, because people go, oh, you don't talk about the gospel and all this other stuff. You people are the reasons why I don't, because I need more support. If I don't have support and I have to work 70 hours a week, I can't talk about it. Not that I'm not capable, not that I'm not better than Not that I'm not even better than most of these YouTubers out there that you're listening to that are just lying to you most of the time anyway, or rambling about for like hours about nonsense. I have tons of stuff. I mean, like this right here, when I was writing this kind of changed my whole thinking. Because it's pretty deep. Like, I'm going into the crossless gospel and how it doesn't make sense, because you got people teaching free grace, right? So, well, there's these people called free, that teach a doctrine called free grace. You believe for 5 seconds and you're saved forever, and they go, you just got to believe in Jesus for 5 seconds and you're saved forever. And it's like, well, how? And then, but the same people will teach something called the crossless gospel. And basically, to me, it seems like you got to get rid of penal substitutionary atonement, which seems like the one thing you have to believe in something like free grace. And I'm not saying free grace is true or not. I'm just saying, like, it's an incredible contradiction for someone to go, I'm free grace, and yet they're going to teach the crossless gospel, because the whole point of why you would be saved forever if you just believe in Jesus for 5 seconds sincerely or something like that would be is that you believed in his finished work on the cross, right? Because how else are your sins paid for? How else are you guaranteed eternal life? That you just believe that he's Jesus? But what does believing that he's Jesus even mean? And basically, that's what this whole paper goes into. Well, these 15 pages I wrote go into, and I've been wanting to make a video about that, but I don't have time. So this is kind of like where I get all this frustration, because there's various subjects I want to talk about, and then people go, "Oh, you're stupid. You only know how to talk about one subject, and you're stupid," and they gaslight me continuously. And so I just want to get away from YouTube, because it's like, no, it's like if I sit there and I don't have much time. I'm trying to get a book written. Okay, now if I do a video, it takes away the 2 hours I could have spent writing a book. And every 2 hours, I can get maybe one chapter done, because I have all the research. It's just a matter of collecting it all and putting it into chapters now. That's all I'm working on. But, just various things like that. So, and basically, I did want to make this video because I see some things coming up with this upcoming election. And, one of the things that kind of bother me is that, Trump's about ready to be inaugurated. And I feel like people still haven't learned, because they're still cheering for the same man that did a lot of harm with his warp speed and lockdown. I think I can say these words on YouTube. And I know this seems kind of brutal, what I got up on my screen, because I go, I'm citing 1 Corinthians 5:5, which says, hand such people over to Satan for the destruction of the flesh, so their spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord. And at the bottom, I put, they are begging for it, refusing to come to the truth. Because to me, this is, when Trump did this in 2020, and this is going to tie into something bigger, I'll get to. When Trump did this in 2020, people should have been like, wow, it's crazy to spend $8 trillion on this, right? On warp speed and lockdown. Right now, what I want you to think about is there's this thing called the world meter. And if you go to this site and it's got the world meter, it tells you how many people are dying of hunger per day, per second, and things like that. It tells you how many people are dying due to having bad drinking water, how many people are dying to malnutrition. And now the things it doesn't go into is, you think about this. If you got malnutrition, does that make you more susceptible to diseases? How many lives could you save if you spent just a couple billion, not 8 trillion, a couple of billion, just to improve farming and things like that, just to improve drinking water? You know what? You could actually save more lives than spending $8 trillion on C-19 COVID, right? You could save a lot more lives. In fact, I would argue that debt that you now incur I think that's hurting the quality of lives, because guess what? A lot of people were able to buy better food. They were able to buy herbs, vitamins, and now they got to cut back because their grocery prices are going skyrocket. Oh, but he's such a genius, right? He's so genius, and you guys vote for him again. And yet your grocery bills are going up, but you can't buy as good of food, which is now your nutrition's going to go down. That might make you more susceptible to disease. And then you got poor people who really have to cut back. There's some people, man, also your dental bills are going up, your doctor bills are going up because inflation's going up for everything. And so you got a lot of issues going on, and you're telling me by dumping $8 trillion and causing all this inflation, by having people stay home, not do anything, and you're also just wasting money on this, in my opinion. I don't think you say, because see, what you should do instead of panicking is you before you spend any money, and most people do this even when they're in tough situations, even when they're in scary situations, they don't automatically, get scared and go, oh, let me empty my bank account. No, they think about, wait a minute, I still got to pay for my rent. I still got to buy my car. I still got to do my car payment, pay for my insurance, pay for my groceries. You don't just panic, when like, oh, someone's about ready to die, let me empty my bank account. No, you think about everything. So to me, there was no cost benefit analysis done. So people go, oh, well, he was just scared and he did this, and they try and make excuses like that. Well, you definitely have no business being in government, because you cannot operate with fear. You cannot operate where you're just panicking and doing things and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. Let me just hurry up and do this. You calmly, with advisors, sit there and think things through. And then people go, oh, well, he was listening to his advisors and his advisors just gave him bad advice. Well, then you're too stupid to know who to listen to. See, like, that's kind of like me. Would you trust me in a leadership position if I had no discernment? Or would you say, no, I think I'm going to seek someone, Chris, that's got better discernment than you to lead my church, because you're making a lot of dumb decisions. You're trusting this person, trusting that person. And you like, because you start questioning when people make dumb decisions, you normally are supposed, unless you're in a cult or unless you've got a cult mind, you question their decision making. Right, when they start making dumb decisions like that, and a decision where you're spending $8 trillion, you better have done a cost benefit analysis, which was never done. No, you should carefully do all this stuff. Like, you should do a cost benefit analysis if you spend just a few $1 million of taxpayer money, let alone not just $1 billion, not just $100 billion, but $8 trillion. Like, this blows my mind. You give me $8 trillion, I guarantee you I could improve many people's lives by carefully organizing where that money gets spent to where everyone has a much better life. And that's just for America. And that would even spill over to the rest of the world. Even if I just focus that money on $8 trillion spent in America properly, not given to a pharmaceutical company, and not just spent to keep people at home sitting around doing nothing. And for some reason, these people are like, wow, he's a genius, he's playing 4D chess. And it's like, what? Where are your minds at? And it just shows you that something is going on to where these people have got such a cult mind. And now you got Trump talking about how he's going to he goes, Christians, vote for me just this one time and you'll never have to vote again. Vote for me just this one time, right? He told everyone that like a few months before the election. What do you mean by vote for you this one time and you'll never have to vote again? And think about this, AI, how much they're pushing AI. Do you think they're not going to try to push some kind of automated system of running government, maybe through AI? I don't know if that's what he's talking about or not. He said these weird cryptic things before he became president in 2016, when he got, because like in the 2015 primary, he's talking about boosters, and I showed that clip. And and guys, you just go look around from my videos, you'll find it. I'm not going to bother playing it in this video. I'm wasting time. I also showed you that even prior to 2020 happening, everything he was signing, right? So you could see all this coming if you just pay attention. You could see all of this coming, but most people don't. And they're listening to pastors and preachers and political analysis that are just like not trying to wake you up. They don't care. That's why people are so drowning in so many lies. You know, I will read one comment because I like Bjorn normally. He says some stuff that's interesting. He says, Chris, the sad thing is the U.S. voters voted to end this war with Russia and CN in the future. Trump's words are more to the New World Order and the North American Union. The cost of war is high inflation on food. Yeah. You know, the whole thing about Trump is I have no, you know, I've been really withdrawing myself from paying too much attention to things because I just got so frustrated. So I don't follow politics as closely anymore because I used to follow it super closely before, 2020 and in 2020 and 2021. But then when I just was like, wow, these people still are not waking up. And that's when I started turning more of my attention to studying cults and studying the Christian religion deeper, because I started thinking that there's something must be going on, a lot deeper problem than just people not having good information. Because no matter what kind of logic I lay down, what kind of information I lay down, it's like people's brains just keep shifting back into believing the lie. And like, no, man, this is just Chris, this is a little bit much for me. Chris, no offense, but you sound a little crazy. And it's like to me, it looks real natural. Like if you watch the videos and the proof I have shown, and granted, it could be organized better, but like I said, I'm a guy that works 70 hours a week. So how do I organize things? Like when I did this video, I basically just walked right on in here and sat down in front of my computer because I would love to organize things. I would love to have the clips lined up to where I could have a program where it's like boom, 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 just information. Everything's like perfectly set up, but I have zero time for that because I don't know. I mean, I set up things like, buy me a coffee, and I had like maybe like 5 people donate so far. And it's like, how hard is it to join it and donate $1 a month, right? Because I'm like thinking that's all I shouldn't need more than a couple of dollars a month from everybody. There should be 10,000 people that want to change this country, change this world. That's all it would take. Because then I go quit my job because I'm bringing in, if you got 10,000 people donating $1 a month, that's $10,000 a month. I can maneuver everything to where I should be able to grow more money but better yet, have more time, because there's things like I wish I could travel to this inauguration, right? And make people answer certain questions, certain tough questions that I cannot get them to answer. Oh my gosh, I forgot okay. At first I was panicking because I had my mic way away from my face because I haven't done a show in so long. I forgot to plug it in, and I guess my laptop is hopefully picking up my voice. But anyway, I would love to travel to this inauguration because I could hold up signs and challenge this massive crowd to think, right? But like, how can I do that if I'm working 70 hours a week and I got no support? And I'm watching these other YouTubers go out there, and they're just kind of going along with the whole program. Like, oh yeah, man, Trump, man, he's gonna end all this wokeness, and he's gonna end all this transgender stuff, and he's gonna set that new world order straight, man. And it's like, I don't think he is. Let me ask you a few questions to see if your brain works and see if you're really thinking this through. That's what I like to do. I like to sit there and, but and I know I'm going to watch a lot of people with footage. I'm probably not going to watch it because it's going to be too frustrating, but there's going to be people out there, YouTube channels, recording this, going through the crowd. I'm going to see like these people get like, 10,000, 20,000 subscribers. They got support and they're sitting there just helping the agenda along, right? And it's like, so it's almost like you have to sell your soul if you want to have support. And to me, that's another reason why I'm like, these people almost like it's almost like they're begging for the lie to be told and begging for themselves to be given over to it, because they care more about a feeling than they care about the truth. They don't care about the truth enough. And I think this also goes into a deeper issue with their relationship with God, where it's like, there's a lot of things they're tolerating in their own churches, where it's like they don't care about the truth, or else they'd run these people out of their church for being such horrible pastors, but they're not even challenging it. And it's like, well, no, we want to get along and be cool. And it's like, that's great to have a loving spirit and to have a forgiving spirit and everything like that, and be forgiving. Hey, people can get it wrong, man, I've been there too, I can get things wrong, okay, that's all great and good. But those people that, there's people that do have it right, and maybe they should be put in those positions and not keep these certain people in there just because, and just allow them to keep lying to you. Like, man, some of these pastors, I can't even think of their names, man. That one, like, I think his name's Greg Locke, right? I think he's someone that predicted Trump would win and things like that. Why does this guy even have a pastor position still? And I will say, at least Greg Locke tried to respond to me in a sermon, right? Because I said something and I could tell, like, when he gave a sermon, he must have read my comment to him. So, him, he even though I called him out, there's a part of me that's like a little bit sympathetic to him, because some of these people, I can write something on their board, or on their Facebook or something, or on their YouTube, and they'll just block me and never even act like they read it and act like it never even bothered them. So at least Greg Locke responded to that, or people in Greg Locke's church saw that comment and pushed him to do something, and he at least tried. Now, I don't think he addressed it very well, but at least he sort of said something about it. Many of these people, man, I just think they're just like out to keep having you drink the Kool-Aid. I bet Greg Locke's back on the Trump train himself. And so I don't know. And so I just kind of want people to know why I haven't been doing videos, because it's just a lot. I think if I get this book written, that I can take and be in a higher academic circle, because and bring these people in and force some people into debates, because there are some people that are high up in these academic circles that say, if my book is good enough, they'll recommend it, or they'll write a decent review for it. And what this decent review will do is put my book in a certain place to where the people that are trying to be dismissive of me and trying to avoid debates with me and discussions with me, they will no longer be able to avoid discussions with me. So when I call out certain pastors and things like that, certain teachers, they no longer can say, oh, you're just some stupid guy that, works a regular job. You have no credentials. So therefore, I'm just going to dismiss you because you only have 600 subscribers on your YouTube channel, even though you've been banned 10 times and everything, and been thrown off of all these platforms, and you're constantly censored. even though you still only got 600. So because you got such a small channel, that means no one cares about you. That means I don't have to deal with you. That's kind of been the attitude I've gotten with most of these people. Not that, oh, your arguments are not that good or whatever. It's just they don't want to deal with me because I would expose them. And I think if I get this book done and I get reviews from the people who I think will give me good reviews, that no longer can people run from me. So that's why I'm saying that it's very important for me to get this done, because I think the book I'm about ready to do will expose most of the fraud going on. Well, it'll give you a pretty good idea about how much fraud's going on. When these people claim that, oh yeah, I studied Hebrew, or I've been studying, the book of Daniel so hard, and you're going to see that these people are absolutely lying to you if they tell you they've been studying this book very hard and they're telling you it's about a future Antichrist and all this other stuff and a 7-year tribulation and all this other stuff. It will be absolutely clear, because I will go over every single argument and expose every single horrible argument. Also, the book will teach you how to read a Bible properly, because I will show you how I just took, my basic start, where I think a person should reasonably start in a prophecy, right? Because I go, like for like the first part of my book, it's just like, hey, I'm just basically, I show you the dates. I basically, just briefly go into why archaeologists think certain dates are valid dates, right? And how you can figure it out and have a fair, good, solid degree of confidence that certain archaeological dates are valid and are provable, right? So now you can know when these 4 decrees are that start the prophecy. And then you can just add 490 years to it, right? Because the Daniel's 70-week prophecy is actually 70 Shavua, which means 70 years, like 77s of years. So it's 490 years altogether, people who aren't too familiar with it. And all you do is you just add it to these 4 decree dates, right? So, and I think that's where you would start the prophecy, because the prophecy itself says it's supposed to start at the decree date, and then you got 490 years. So you just look at all the 4 possible decrees, because it has to be by a Persian king, right? Because it's got to start in the time of Persia, or Persian rule, and you just, okay, here's 4 decrees that were given by Persian kings, and which one could it possibly be? And you just add 490 years. What are all the historical events that happened between there? And then look at the prophecy briefly and go, well, there's only one date that really seems like it matches up, and that's 457 BC to 34 AD. And I understand some people believe, spring to spring calculation for some of this stuff. So you might say 458 to 33 AD. So 458 BC to 33 AD. I get all that. Anyway, and my book's flexible with that. But in general, shouldn't be more than a year off. Should be right there. And you just add these dates, and then I briefly go into like why a year is a year, and show you all this biblical proof about what a year is, and how many days are actually in a Jewish year, and all this other stuff. So there's only one way you can reckon a year. I go through that, and so I'm like, okay, and I start with here, and then I start trying to fill in everything that's in that prophecy and see if it matches up. Now, what someone else would have to do is go, oh no, that's crazy, and that's what my other part of the book's going to go to, because I know someone's going, oh no, that's crazy, it's got to be this other way. And then I'm just going to show you what kind of manipulations and assertions and all this other crazy stuff they got to do with the text, to where you can clearly see that someone is not doing an inductive Bible study like they claim they're doing, all right? And they're just lying to you, because you'll plainly see that this is not inductive Bible study. So And I don't want to make this video too long. Oh, thank you, Lisa. So you should buy my book. He said, if you got strikes, you're doing something right for the Lord. Hey, I appreciate that, because most people attack me and they don't say nothing that nice, you know. And I mean, I actually have a pretty good group of people that listen to my channel, especially on Rumble. I was actually surprised people have been so supportive over there, because I know that platform, when it first started, man, there was like a lot of pro-Trumpers that just hated my guts, and they would not listen to me. So and I appreciate all the people over there also. And let me just see here. So Bjorn says the USA is not manufacturing. Rising inflation causes by the high importation form of goods from Vietnam and China. The elite rulers are bent on destroying the middle class tax base. It sure feels like they're bent on destroying the middle class tax base. Because I mean, I feel like we're the ones that get hit the hardest. You know, when you're really rich, inflation doesn't bother you that much, and people would, you know, might be a little puzzled as to why that would be. But what you do is you just keep enough money for your weekly spending, and if you invest the rest of that into like stocks or other or commodities or something like that, if inflation hits, those commodities and stocks just become more valuable, so your money's protected. But if you have money in your bank account and inflation hits, or you're just someone that's just, you know, just getting by week to week, when inflation hits, those prices are going up, but you have no way of putting the rest of your money into something that protects you from inflation. And so you're just watching, like, oh, I'm making 100,000 this year, but it feels like 50,000 because inflation hit you, you know. Whereas someone that has $1 million, okay, you might spend 100,000, but if you put 900,000 into stocks and things, okay, inflation hits, those stocks double prices, so your money's protected. You put it in gold, your money's protected. The price of gold might have inflated, but when you put your money into that gold, your money inflated with it. So the amount of money you had technically inflated, because now that gold you put your money into, well, since the price of gold went up, so did your money. So you're not losing anything. But it's the poor people that this is really hurting. And then it's like, you know, when prices go up so much, people got to start selling things, following bankruptcy. And that's where these people can just kind of move in, who have all this extra money, move in and buy up things. And I think it'll get to a point to where you can have all the wealth in the whole entire world concentrated into the hands of just a few people. And the reason why that can be is, if you think about the world deficit, and now I'm talking about the whole entire world. Whole entire world has a deficit of about 200 and I think it's $290 trillion. And there's only $90 trillion of currency in circulation. I mean, that's all the currencies in the entire world. You have $90 trillion of currency in circulation, but you have $290 trillion of debt. All someone has to do is just sit there and, like, I'm not going to allow loans anymore. And if you stop loaning out money, how does that debt get paid? Because you only have $90 trillion and you have $290 trillion of debt. So the whole world has to file bankruptcy. That means the whole world has to get rid of whatever they own in order to pay that. So it's just a matter of when they want to collapse everything. And because I think they could easily collapse everything. Now, I'm not sure why they have the system set up the way it is. I guess it is because, you know, the debtor is a slave, basically. All right, because if you're in debt to someone, you're their slave. And so, and they got it set up to where the whole world's practically in debt. Like, and there's no way of paying it out. The only way you would ever get through this, and no one suggests this system, is with a greenback system where you print money debt free. We have a Federal Reserve system where every time we print a dollar, we actually owe money whenever we print it because we're borrowing it from someone. And I'm still not real clear how this whole system works. All I know is you basically are borrowing it from some sort of bank, and people like buy US bonds, and that's how this money is able to be created, because they buy bond debt, and then with the promise to pay back interest. So every time the US prints a dollar, you have to pay back that dollar with interest to someone, right? And it's a bad system because all it is growing the deficit. That's why, a lot of people, when they see, the president spend $8 trillion, they're thinking that the government just went on a printing press and just printed that money. But they did far more than just print the money. They actually borrowed that money. So whenever you see the government spending this kind of money that we don't have, what they do is they go borrow it from the Federal Reserve System with a promise to pay it back with interest. And I don't see how we ever get out of this system because, like I said, $90 trillion of currency and $290 million of debt. And it's just continuously rising by the day. And the only way you would get out of it is just to say, hey, we're going to go back to a greenback system where we just print the money debt free. We just kind of print it as we need it. But then people are like, well, what about inflation and all this other stuff? There's still manipulations that can occur, but at least you're not in debt to some foreign entity that's running your Federal Reserve System or buying bonds through your Federal Reserve System and putting you into some kind of debt slavery. So, when I see this, just the insane amount of debt in this whole entire world, the way inflation's going up, and then I see this whole AI system going up where you can have AI in everything. So now you can basically have like a government agent constantly following you around, because if you have an AI in your phone, an AI in your car, an AI in your appliances, you have AI everywhere. It's almost like having a government agent that can report back to the government. And this agent doesn't need to sleep. They don't need to eat. They have no conscience, and they could just keep reporting data on you continuously, right? And feeding it back to the government in detail far greater than a human being ever could feed back to the government, right? And just like constantly keep tabs on you. And now you have Trump saying, hey, vote for me and you'll never have to vote again. And then you see these people putting so much trust in him. It's like, well, if Trump's setting up the AI and Trump's setting up this government system, maybe it's a good system because Trump's setting it up. And we know we can trust Trump because he spent $8 trillion on COVID and locked us down and kept us safe. And he gave us a vaccine and it kept us safe. He's saving us. He's our hero, right? These people are still under this dumb impression that this guy, by just misspending $8 trillion on this, that he's your savior. Like, I mean, like to me, that blows my mind. Like, if I invite someone on here who's a big time Trump supporter, and I'm like, okay, look, defend Trump on spending $8 trillion on this. They'd be like, oh, and they grit their teeth. They couldn't do it. They'd be like, but he got tricked. No, I don't care if you think he got tricked. That sounds like he's stupid and he doesn't deserve to be here. What I want you to do is defend his decision making. Show me why you think that's a good president. Defend his decision making. Let's debate on this. And they refuse to come on my show. In fact, they make excuses and they start slandering me because they know that's a good point. So they'll run from me and they'll say, "Oh, well, you only got 600 subscribers. I got 20,000 subscribers, Chris, and I don't need you. you're just dumb. And it's like, well, no, why am I dumb? Like, like they'll start insulting me, all these big time YouTubers, and it's just like that's why I kind of withdrew. I was getting mad, because it's like, let's just challenge me on this thought, man. You guys sit there and go, he's our savior, he's so great. I go, hey, if you can prove it to me, I'll be glad to support your channel. I'll be glad to work with you. I'll help you get even more views. Just come on my channel and explain this to me. But I know you can't, because it doesn't make sense. Because when you start walking through all the data that he had on his table, and I start walking people through all the data that came across this table and how he decided to interpret that data, it doesn't make sense. But people want to suspend it because it's like, well, they're so scared of whatever woke agenda or whatever. But they did this with, President Bush, it's like people got so scared of the Democrat side. They cheered for Bush, and I'm like, okay, so let's talk me through. You think Bush is a really good president and he passed the Patriot Act? Let's sit here and debate the Patriot Act. And it's like, well, no, you're crazy, you're stupid. I go, well, I also think, these things look kind of weird about 9/11. Let's debate. No, you're stupid. That's a crazy conspiracy theory. See, they did the same thing back to me 20 years ago when I was still doing these kinds of shows 20 years ago. And these people were same sorts of people. Like, I'm like, hey, 9/11 looks a little suspicious to me. And I said this from day one it happened. I said, that looks suspicious to me. Oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Well, why don't you come on my show and let's talk about this? No. Excuse. Right. Tim Pool was one of those kinds of people. Tim Pool, like, I had a website with 1 million people that was coming to my website at one point. Now, this is back before they had all these like ways you could make money off the internet, right? Because like now they got Google ads and all these other things. That stuff started once I took my website down, because I had my first kid. I couldn't manage it. Someone hacked into my website, and normally I could go through there and comb through there and take the virus out myself, because I knew something about programming. Me and my wife both do. And normally we could go in there and just kind of comb it out and take it out and fix everything. But we couldn't do it at that time. It hit us at a really bad time. So I just took my website down. But up until that point, here I got 1 million people. I'm trying to work with people, and they didn't want to work with me because they didn't like what I was saying about bigger companies that they were trying to work with, like WorldNet Daily. So if I'm calling out WorldNet Daily because I'm saying, look at this lie that they're pushing, because they were pushing this one guy named Pachepa. He's supposed to be like this former KGB agent, and he wrote a book called Disinformation. And I don't think he actually wrote the book. I think someone wrote it for him and just put it under his name. Now I can't prove that, but that's just the general feeling I get. I don't even know if I've seen this guy talk live, so I don't even know if this guy is even alive, to be honest. But anyway, so they got this book called Disinformation, and it's talking about how the Russians are trying to are communists, and the communists are working on trying to have illegal immigrants come into America, and that's why we have this border crisis in America with Mexico. And I'm pointing it out like, okay, so you claim, because it's like, let's follow this stupid logic here that you're saying. You're claiming that the communists are trying to help these illegals come across the border. More than 90% of these illegals coming across the Mexican border are coming from are Catholics, because they're coming from 90% Catholic countries. You claim that the communists hate the Catholics and that they hate the Catholic Church, and that this is why we should let the Catholics run our CIA, because we notice the top positions in our CIA and government are ran by Catholics, because they say, and their excuse is, well, the main reason why we have so many Catholics running our government is because Catholics hate communists, and communists are the worst enemy in the entire world, so we need to let the Catholics run everything in our government. Okay, but you're also claiming that the Catholic Church is standing up against the communists the hardest, right? And they go, yeah, the Catholic Church hates the communists the most. That's why we have to let them all run our government. I'm like, okay, let's follow the logic here. Just because this sounds really stupid to me, what you're telling me. So you're telling me that the Russian communists are trying to help all these Catholics come across our southern border, and are trying to keep the southern border wide open so all these Catholics can come into America, because somehow that's going to help them, since the Catholic Church and Russia hate each other. And do you understand how stupid this is? And I would call them out for this, right? And and write articles calling out this like total illogical nonsense. Because it's like, how is it that the communists who hate Catholics are going to have the Catholics come across the border so they can make America more Catholic, and therefore make it more communist proof, supposedly, right? It's like, it doesn't make sense. And then so what I was pointing out was, I was like, if you notice, seems like the Pope is always hooking up with all these questionable groups, pushing these questionable agendas. Like, the Catholic Church wanted everyone to be forced to take the vaccine. The Catholic Church wanted, was saying, they had Chelsea Clinton appear in front of the Vatican Council for Culture during 2020. Yeah, I think it was during 2020. She appeared, or maybe the start of 2021, but I think it was 2020. You know what? I'm pretty sure it was 2020, towards the end of 2020. And anyway, she was saying how I think we need to do more to censor alternative platforms and protect people from this bad information. And they're all clapping and cheering for her. So you got to think, because the Vatican Council for Culture and the Vatican itself is against free speech, right? So it doesn't want this speech shared. So it likes censorship. And that's why it never says anything about, like North Korea having free speech. If you let North Korea have free speech, you could end a lot of that oppression going on there. Just push for the fact that, make all the governments come together and say, hey, I think it's very cruel what you're doing to these people. Allow them to have free speech and think for themselves, right? Just allow free speech. No, we're not going to get into all that. Why not? I think if you allow free communication, that's a good way to push the gospel and everything, right? Don't you want to preach Christianity and everything? And Pope's like, no, that's not that important. It's like, whoa, then what kind of religious leader are you if that's not that important, And so it's like a lot of things could be fixed in this world if you allow communication. And it's like they want to stifle communication and control communication and manipulate communication. That's why you have algorithms that push certain things to the top. That's why, it's like, I got videos that get banned for nothing. I can point out things where all I'm doing is reading headlines of articles. So you can't say, oh, copyright, you read the whole article. No, I'm just reading a paragraph, of various articles and things like that. And I get banned. Why? Because I'm just sharing information. These are factual things people have said, factual things people have wrote. And I'm just pointing it out that they wrote these things, and it looks like it could potentially lead to here. All right. And I just go, potentially lead to here. I used to be very careful. I used to say, my opinion, this is my opinion. I think this, when you read this and I show what I read or show the video, I go, potentially it leads to here. And boom, banned. Why? It's like, so they're controlling information so hard. And why are they controlling information so hard? What is their agenda behind it? And then you just see that the Vatican is one of the top organizations that's working with all these multimedia companies. But they can have their opinion. But me as a Protestant, if I go, hey, this agenda looks a little weird to me, boom, I'm going off the internet. And people should be, and even if you go, oh no, Chris, I don't think the Vatican's really an evil entity. I don't really think it's the beast of Revelation. You don't have to. Why don't you just say, hey, just like if a Muslim group was running all the communication and the majority of our government, same thing, any one religion running everything. And when you see it doing these things, and like, what if it was like a Muslim leader instead, and you start seeing all these Fortune 500 companies go meet with this Muslim leader, and they're bowing to him, and then they're coming back and they're running your government and donating to the politicians. These same people, you go watch and bow to a Muslim leader and call him Holy Father, and then they go back to your own government and you go vote for him. Or you go vote for the politicians that they finance. Wouldn't you call into question these people's loyalties, right? So these politicians, if they go and call a foreign leader, let's say they were all going, like, instead of the Pope, it was a Muslim leader, and they were all calling him Holy Father. So Nancy Pelosi, Biden, Donald Trump, because they all call that Pope Holy Father and things like that. What if they were calling a Muslim leader in another country Holy Father, and then coming back and running your country? And it was the same people, Republicans and Democrats alike, both doing it. And then you you also have your CIA, which also has a lot of Catholics, but let's pretend like they were calling this Muslim leader in another country Holy Father. And this Muslim country, not only was it just a religious church, but let's say it was also a sovereign government, right? Because the Vatican is a sovereign state. That's why it's invited to the that's why it's got a seat on the United Nations, or is it the European nations, right? The EU. The Pope's got a seat over there. Why? Because the Vatican is a state also. So let's say it was a Muslim leader instead, and you had all these companies like Monsanto, the leaders of Monsanto, they go there and they bow before this Muslim leader and they go, Holy Father. And then they go and start financing politicians. You have the leaders of Pfizer, the leaders of Moderna, right? Because you have that one guy that went to a Jesuit school, Bancel, Bancel. He was the CEO of Moderna, and he goes to Jesuit schools and things like that, so, but these people are all calling that same person Holy Father, like, Dr. Fauci, he's a Catholic. Robert Redfield, the CDC director during 2020, all calling this guy in another country Holy Father, right? If that was a Muslim, wouldn't you be like, wow, this is something crazy going on in my government. This doesn't look right. They're rushing this out really fast, and they're all calling this guy in another country Holy Father, who's a Muslim, who's also the head of a state and the head of a religion. Do you think those people would be as loyal to America? Or are they more loyal to the guy they're calling Holy Father? I mean, that's my main question. And so we have a right to say, hey, you guys need to explain why we can trust that you're going to be more loyal to our country than you are to the guy you're calling Holy Father and bowing to. We have a right. Like, there's nothing like bigoted or anything about that. If that was a Muslim, I'd have every right in the world to ask. And it's like, hey, can you explain to me why you're calling this Muslim Holy Father? And can you explain to me that you're going to still be more loyal to America than the guy you're calling Holy Father in another country? And bowing to? And especially when you start watching, and then it's like if you saw that same Muslim leader promoting agendas to take away free speech, to promote censorship, all this other stuff, Why would you not call, anti-gun, right? Global warming. It looks like, like the gay agenda, right? The homosexual agenda. Looks like he's all up into that too. So if they're promoting all of this stuff that you're supposed to be against, but yet the same people are saying Holy Father, that's the thing I'm just wondering about. And it's like, and then you just see like clear mispenditures of money. And so I just want to get my thought out there, and tell people why I haven't done videos for a while. Share my thoughts on this inauguration and the hope I have, which is none. Because until people wake up, I don't see it. And I've tried to run for office. In fact, I want to show people something, because some people go, "Oh no, Chris, you never really tried to run for office," and all this other stuff. And I might not even be able to bring it up. You know what? I might actually be able to bring it up on this screen, maybe. I thought I was going to be able to bring it up, but it's going to be too much trouble, because I can't. I know it's in this same file, but I don't know how to bring it up. But what I wanted to show people was that I was actually on the Republican ballot in the primary. But, it's the same thing that happened when I start getting all these attacks, and I don't have time, because to me, I felt like I was going to have a breakdown trying to manage running for office and getting all my paperwork straight. Because if you don't cross a T or dot an I, there's a potential of, getting yourself in a lot of trouble. So you got to file your paperwork on time. You got to do all this stuff, on time. You got to keep track of all this stuff. But when I had people just, bashing me on top of it, dude, I couldn't, that was too much. No support, hardly. And, just like constant bashing. It's like, dude, I couldn't deal with it. Not when people were like, "Oh no, you're crazy. He's our hero." It's like, no, I just got to be like, you know what? Someone like me just sharing this kind of information, if I ever get like 10,000, 20,000 subscribers, sure, I'll think about running for office, because that means people have woke up, they actually care, and they don't want to be lied to anymore. But to have like hardly any support and a bunch of bashing, dude, like a project like that takes up way too much time, and I could sit here, write books, and things like that can put myself in, and people that do care in a lot of better position. Because this isn't just for me. This is also because I know there's some people that are even less known than me that do some really great work. And so this book that I'm writing, this, like, a lot of people keep acting like I'm some selfish person looking for attention. And it's like, no, it's the opposite. I can DJ, I got all this stuff I can do to be popular, and all this other stuff. Like, if I want to be popular, I go DJ. Like, I got a whole case of records right here. Like, I used to DJ, right? Like, right here's my, I don't know if, I can't pull it up on my screen because it's not. I tried pulling it up, but for some reason my YouTube. But I have a whole record case of vinyl records sitting right here. All this other stuff, dude. If I want to be popular, I go be popular in a second. But what I want to do is get truth out there. And so what I want to do is I want to finish writing this book, because this way I can help people who are more shy. I guess they're shy. They don't have a lot of confidence. They write great. They do a lot of great research, but they don't have a lot of confidence for whatever reason, or they don't want to get in front of a camera, or they don't feel like dealing with all the flack and all the debate and all the hatred. And it's like, if I write my book and I can put myself in a certain position, I can maybe help those people out better. All right, that's kind of what I'm trying to aim to do. Like, this isn't just like a selfish project for me. This is to try to help people, because not only will the book help you read a Bible properly, it'll help you see all the lies going on. Also, it should put me in a position to where I can I can stop people from running from me and finally go into a debate with me and force them into discussions and start getting rid of a lot of the lies that are going on, to where it's going to be exposed so much they no longer can just sit there and hide, or it will be made more obvious. That's what I'm hoping this all accomplishes. So this isn't like a selfish project that I'm doing. So I'm just kind of letting people know that, because it's like I have people throwing things at me for various reasons, and I mean, and to be honest, it does sometimes get to me, and that's why I have to withdraw from things and pull myself back, because if I keep engaging and wasting time instead of getting this book done and other things, you know, I'll never get it done, and then never really go nowhere. But, and I'm just letting people know there are plenty of topics, you know, I want to talk about. You know, like I said, I have over a week of research and writing that I've done on various topics of the Bible, various political things. I have stuff still from the Ukraine I've never even shared with people. Things, you know, that people don't even understand, like why is everything going on in Ukraine? What's all the political manipulations really about? I haven't even had time to share all that, because I have no time to sit down and put that into a format to understand people, because there's details about these things that if they're not properly presented, they will just go over people's heads, and it'll be a total waste of time, because people don't know about these details. They don't know why these details even matter. So you have to tell people, you know, why the details even matter. So anyway, I know this was kind of rambling. Like I said, I just want people to have some kind of update as to why I've been silent, and I'll start doing more once I get this book done. It's almost done. I thought I was going to have it done this week, but there's a couple of things I wanted to add to it and rewrite about it. But that's it. And I'll try to figure out, you know, if I can figure out something quick to do, I'll try to do that. But if not, I'll probably have to wait until I get this done. So later. Oh, hold on. Lisa said something interesting. It's getting set up to show people false play to have people believe pre-trib. Just my perspective. Yeah, see, that's another reason why I'm doing this whole book about Daniel, because I believe that there is some deception going on that ties into Daniel 9. And it's really easy to get people to go along with the system. Okay, my final point is, if there is no, let's say you believe that there's no mark of the beast until the 7-year tribulation starts. And let's say you got this false belief that the 7-year tribulation doesn't start until an antichrist signs a 7-year treaty with Israel. So up until that point, you don't think it's possible there can be a mark of the beast, because that's what a lot of people teach. So let's say things get, you know, like Trump has something where you take a mark, but people are looking around like, well, wait a minute. There's no 7-year tribulation. No one signed a peace treaty. This can't possibly be the mark of the beast. Things are looking pretty tough. I guess I'll go ahead and take this, because this probably isn't the mark of the beast. Because if it was the mark of the beast, well, there would be a 7-year peace treaty already signed, and there's no 7-year peace treaty signed, so there's no antichrist. So if there's no antichrist, then this can't possibly be the mark of the beast. So I'll go ahead and take it. See, it's little things like that can figure into people. People can go, oh no, I'll recognize it, and the Spirit of God to guide me. I don't know. I mean, the Spirit of God should have guided you not to vote for Trump again. Like it amazes me that people cheered for this guy after he misspent $8 trillion, and he made all these excuses and saying, no, he must be playing 4D chess. He must be doing this, must be doing that. The indictments are coming, all this other stuff. And then, you know, he loses the election. It's like, and then people are like, well, no, he's still setting them up. He's still playing 3D chess. Biden's not really the president. He's really behind a green screen. Trump's really running everything. Blah, 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 blah. Right. You know, these people are seeing all these crazy things, and then they go vote for him again. These people are already in such a delusion. You think like, oh yeah, but now the mark of the beast is here. Now they'll recognize it. I don't know. It's like I actually think they can be fooled. I think the truth is so obvious, and yet they're still not like. To me, this is so obvious. Like, I don't even know how people are getting fooled by it. You're supposed to be Christians. You're supposed to have light in your eyes. Just use a little common sense. Didn't this look a little fast? I mean, like when they were pushing this faster than ever. Guys had no questions. He's talking about boosters in the 2015 primary. You guys are not sitting there going, wait a minute. He's just talking about boosters in the 2015 primary. We never had a booster shots and things like that. What's going on? Oh, well, now we got this super fast thing. He's blocking everyone down, spending $8 trillion on it. It's like when people can't put those two into together, you think they're going to put anything else together? So it's like, people keep thinking, oh yeah, they'll figure it out. No, you guys are not going to figure anything out. If you guys can't get over this obviousness, this is obvious. Right? Like, it couldn't be more in your face. He's even said things like, I could shoot people in the middle of, what was it, Main Street or Manhattan. I could shoot someone and they'd still vote for me. Like, he's even telling you, like, he's basically telling you, you guys are in a cult and you guys will vote for me no matter what. It's like, he'll tell you these things straight to your face. Like, right after he got elected the first time, people were like, lock her up. And he's like, no, shut up. You guys don't want that. That played good before the election, but now, nah, you don't want that. Remember? He told you, hey, I was just saying all that stuff. I was just lying to you. He told you right to your face. And you guys still sat there and made excuses for it. And he told you right to your face, just like right here. He goes, if I were to run, I'd run as a Republican. They're the dumbest group of voters in the country. They love anything on Fox News. I could lie and they'd still eat it up. I bet my numbers would be terrific. People Magazine, 1998. All right. That's what someone says he said in it. I'd have to go research. I think I researched that. So, like something I just pulled up. But you can see all this other stuff, that he's done. So to me, it makes sense that he's always been honest with you right in your face. And you guys just choose to believe he's something else because you want so badly to believe the lie. And it's like, but he's been honest. He's been on, so it's like no one has an excuse for if anything goes wrong because he's been honest with you. Like, I can't believe how open and honest he's been, as far as like how he's going to mess you over. It's like it's not even like he's hiding it. And people go, oh no, if the Antichrist steps on stage, well, if your preacher's been telling you that the Antichrist first has to sign a 7-year peace treaty with Israel, then the Antichrist appear, then you'll know he's the Antichrist. And then the mark of the beast. Up until then, you guys, if he never signs a 7-year peace treaty because you guys got Daniel all wrong, and you flipped it upside down and took a prophecy that's about Jesus and made it into a prophecy about the Antichrist, and you flipped it upside down. You never even read it, never studied it for yourself, never even made your pastor or prophecy teacher prove that they studied it. And these guys flip something obviously upside down. And when you read this book, you're going to see how obvious it is that they never, ever, they just lied to you. They absolutely lie. Like, as I write this book, I just get angrier and angrier. Because I'm like, this is so obvious. Like, didn't you guys even bother to read the Hebrew, study the Hebrew a little bit or anything? Like, there's so many different things about this that makes it so obvious. The Hebrew language, the biblical calendar, it's just so much stuff, man. It's like you guys, this is inexcusable. It's inexcusable that you ever came to this conclusion, especially in this day and age when we have internet and you can so easily look things up in resources. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable that this is taught in one single church, one single seminary. Inexcusable that a student should be flunked if they even come to this conclusion. That's about a future Antichrist. They should be flunked. They should be told. They should be said that you have no business having any kind of function in a church besides being a janitor. And you're lucky to even be a janitor in a church. That's how bad this is. That's how bad this deception is. That's how they have nothing to stand on. Absolutely nothing to stand on. They're absolutely lying to you. Every single person teaching this, it is a lie. And they're going to wind up deceiving you. Straight up deceiving you.